How's it going, everybody? That's wrong podcast, because that's Observer Radio. Never mind. Oh, welcome to the RCR podcast. This is the Roman or Nick.
Hi, I'm Brian or Mr. Regular.
And yeah, this was kind of a weird week, I guess. Just released a Honda Goldwing video, and that's out. Hopefully people are enjoying it. Doing more motorcycles in the future, I guess.
I read the wrong torque rating. I said it had 200 and something pound-feet of torque, which would be, earth-shattering news. That's what a V8 makes, but no, it has like 100 horse, 100 torque or something like that. Or maybe 100 horse out of a 1.6. 100 horse, probably 84 pound-feet of torque or something like that. I must have been thinking of the number 200, and I had this problem at the last real job I had, which was logistics, which was spreadsheets, which was numbers. And I would read a number, I would see a number, and I would type a different number because I was thinking of that number. It's like in my head was the Price is Right wheel just going around, just numbers. And I hated it. I got held back. No, I failed freshman algebra 1 in high school. And I had to go to summer school. It was either that or take it the next year. Yeah. And I didn't want to, because if I took it the next year, then, it would be a year of that stuff. And as opposed to just moving on to Algebra 2, which had the better teacher.
Yeah.
But going to... I gotta remember my mic technique. I talk louder than you so I can have the microphone farther away. I'm just thinking of Kutztown University Radio, where our mics were turned way down, and we spoke directly into them.
Yeah.
And then there was a compressor in between that and all the other stuff. So you didn't really have to worry about your hard P's. The mics we're using right now don't have muffs on them, which is something I should order, but these are larger than I think a regular muff would fit. Just something to add to the next Amazon order. Anyway, summer school. I went to summer school for Algebra 1, and it was weird. I knew one girl in it who I think was either in my algebra class or had the same teacher, just a different period during the day. And we both agreed that teacher sucked. And because it was, when you get a teacher who's on his last year, sometimes they get super cool because they don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just haul that apple box into the front of the class and start ranting about all the things that are wrong in the world. And it's your fault. It's your generation. So that was Mr. Greenswig. He's dead now. Yeah. My mom had him,
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. This was 1996. And there should be a cap on how long you can teach before you're mandated a year off or something like that.
Yeah.
Because some teachers do it well, but it's like the human being just doing the same thing. You start to... some teachers just start to resent their own students. And I could see that. I mean, I substitute taught for 6 years, but I could see how some people would get weird after 10 years of just horny teenagers all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, summer school. I knew I was going to where the bad kids were. Like, oh, you failed a class, you're a bad kid. And the bad kids go to summer school. And it was like, I was with people who couldn't sit still, who talked back in class, who got mouthy. And I didn't really know that it had everything to do with parents and socioeconomic stuff. But Summer school. I resented being there, and I was so embarrassed that I was there. Like, I thought I was a good kid. I never talked in class. I had my books ready when the teacher came in. I sat up straight. I didn't mumble. But I still failed algebra because, well, you can't reason with numbers. Either they're the right number or the wrong number.
Yeah. It didn't matter how many times they tried to explain it to me, which it just never got through. I remember in college, I was so bad at math that they had to send me to the most sort of remedial math class that they could come up with, which was basically just logic, which technically counted as a math class. And even then I only barely passed because for whatever reason, me and numbers, we just don't track, you know. It's almost a liberal arts major cliche.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am absolutely terrible at math. And this is why, you know, car repairs tend to be sort of, like when we were working on the Fit that one time, and it's a matter of measuring, you know, degrees and all this other stuff of just trying to figure out what goes where and how much space you have and all this other stuff. I'm just, you know, with the Dynamat and other stuff of trying to figure out, you know, how much we need to seal this phantom leak that we can't find.
I don't know how big this apartment is because how do you measure square feet? Well, you take the outside.
Yeah, it becomes the Peanuts adults.
Yeah.
You know, wah, 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 wah.
Like, I don't know. It's got 2 rooms and a bedroom and a kitchen. Yeah, but the square footage. So I'm doing that thing where I guess I had to estimate it here. Anyway.
But for taxes of how big your office is by square foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as car repair and math goes, we're in a position now where I can just spend my way away from responsibilities. And by that, I mean going to Lowe's and getting the electronic torque wrench where you punch the number in. How many pound-feet of torque? 20? Okay. You put in 20 on the wrench and you keep turning it and it goes beep, 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 beep. Okay, you've turned it enough. You're done. I had one of the old style torque wrenches where you had to do math. It had a turny handle, like a handle in a handle, like you were giving somebody an Indian burn, and cultural appropriation. And that one clicked. If you did it right, the wrench would click when you got there, but it gave you no indication that you were getting close. And I remember doing head bolts on my GS500, and I'm like, I feel like I'm really tight in this, and am I getting close or not? And I'm just waiting for that click. This one, as you start getting close, it goes like a backup camera with a sensor going beep, 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 beep. Okay, I'm getting close. A little bit more, and beep, you're done. Oh, and it also vibrates like a video game controller. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it was $100.
Oh, it sounds like it was worth every penny.
Yeah,
to not do math.
Yeah, not do math and don't break a head bolt. Or anything that's gonna have to. Oh crap! You broke it off in the crankcase. So yeah,
it's like an analogy for, you know, loot boxes and microtransactions in video games. You're paying not to play the game, and now you're sort of cranking this wrench so that you can get away from the whole business of doing math. And I was totally, at the time, you know, in college and in high school, being on that, you know, math can suck a dick, all that other stuff, even though math is technically the only way that anything happens.
Yes.
In the world. You know, it's this peculiar, you know, nucleus of everything. And they say, you know, a lot of students will say, oh, when am I ever going to use this in my life? Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, realizing it now, I kind of wish that I had paid attention more, but knowing me, it wouldn't have mattered because there's just no way to sort of make that connection. You know, if the you know, if it's not connecting, then you can't make two separate. I don't know, it's weird.
And on the flip side, when I hear people say, oh, I don't know what to write about, like who freeze up at a blank page, I don't understand that. Just start writing. Move your hand. It's that easy. Yeah, but what's and they're thinking in terms of what's right to write.
Yeah.
Well, what's the correct thing to write? Newsflash, there is none. Standardized spelling wasn't even a thing until what, 1500?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I think we had this sort of I can't think of an analogy
I'm sorry.
for it.
It's well into the 1700s when standardized spelling came around.
I always thought it was around 1500s, around there, because that would have been.
I'm trying to remember Shakespeare, and that was 16...
that was the Tudor era of British history, so that would have been like 64-ish, around there. I want to say, but I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's not exactly Middle English, but it's not our English either.
Right.
It's like this weird cross section of grammar and vocabulary.
I mean, you can get Shakespeare stuff in the early modern English. I'm making air quotes here.
Yeah. And
it's unreadable.
Yeah. I mean, how many classes do people in college have to read, especially if you're, an English major? Do you have to read Milton and the Canterbury Tales? How many times are you just sitting there poring over the Reeves Tale that you have to, and there's the little annotations at the bottom to help you make heads or tails of it, because a lot of people can't read Middle English. Now, granted,
I couldn't either. I mean, I just read the Spark Notes, and then I would read what the story was about. I would spoil the whole thing, because who the hell cares? This isn't Thor Ragnarok here. I don't care what happens. I want to pass this class.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And to me, I don't care if I know the ending of a story. I don't care if someone spoils a movie, because I'm more interested in how you got there.
Yeah.
Like, I never saw Memento, and I saw the ending and the beginning and the beginning and the ending, but I'm just more interested in the mechanics and how it works.
Yeah.
Or how you got from point A to point C via point B. Anyway.
Yeah, I think there's that kind of narrative lack of cohesion where there are people who just want to get to the end of a thing rather than experiencing the totality of it.
Yeah.
Not to be too on current events, but House of Cards, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those series where people just wanted to get to the downfall of how does the whole thing come crashing down.
Well.
No,
imagine if that became the story.
That's better than what they probably could have come up with. I don't know what's more. Well, I mean, that's a stupid thing to say. No, it's upsetting what Spacey did, but I also find it upsetting that season 5 was so bad that I don't care what happens to the show anymore. Because that was almost exquisitely bad television. To the point where even in today's modern climate, where, the fiction that they write can't live up to the standard of the wild reality we live in, it's still pretty ridiculous.
That's a good line. The fiction written cannot keep up with the wild reality we live in.
Yeah,
it's a good line.
Thanks. But and I think part of it is just when you're looking at a piece of a work and sort of thinking about what the end goal is, a lot of times people miss out on the more important middle stages of it. We're in a culture where people abhor spoilers, and I understand why. Mm-hmm. But again, if something can be ruined just by telling you what the ending is, then it wasn't really much of an experience in the first place, because there wasn't something substantive there. Now, granted, there's more to it than just how you get there. Like, yes, the ending is a huge part of the media we consume, but there has to be an understanding that you can't take media in pieces. It has to be the totality of the work.
Right.
So, yeah. But man, that was rough. Like, that Spacey thing. Think about it. It's exactly 7 or 8 days, I think, that we're recording this on November 6th. And it's been about exactly 1 week since that thing broke. And in 1 week,
that's
done.
it. Done. Dunzo.
2-time Oscar winner, Tony winner, beloved person. But the thing is that, like, even when I was an entertainment reporter, it was one of those things where it was kind of assumed that he was kind of a lecherous person. Not, you know, rapey or anything, but that he would hit on people.
Right.
You know, because I used to... Okay, so basically I used to be an entertainment writer, or reporter for an entertainment website. And one of the websites that were part of my list of sources, one of them was a source that I would never use just because there was no way of verifying any of it, but it would kind of point me in the direction of stories. And it was basically this blind item website where it would tell you a story but leave out the names and leave you to infer who it was. And on at least 3 of the stories, I'm like, this is Kevin Spacey. Like, this is clearly Kevin, because the way that they're wording it, it's like, you know, this Oscar winner who's now, you know, a multi-time Emmy nominee on a popular prestige drama. I'm like, oh, this is Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's talking about him hitting on dudes at nightclubs. And it's one of those things where, you know, you don't think that it's going to be so far onto the other end of the spectrum where, you know, he's doing these heinous things, but, you know, it's one of those things where you just assume that's what Hollywood is like.
Right.
And now this is the problem of people just assume that that's how Hollywood is supposed to be like. And I was telling a friend of mine, because he was kind of worried, you know, oh man, what if something comes out about Bryan Cranston or Tom Hanks?
Right.
And I'm just thinking, you know, that terrifies me too, but at some point we kind of have to be willing to lose our heroes if it means sort of cleaning things up and making it a better business for people to actually be in. That you're not freaking out about what some crazy asshole is going to do when you're alone with them in a trailer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Sorry, I keep adjusting my microphone. Either I'm moving or it's moving. Pretty sure it's moving.
So it's like the eyes of Mona Lisa.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But it is kind of terrifying how easily the House of... pun intended. House of Cards came crumbling down just in that... Well, okay, it's never one accusation that does it. It's usually a torrent of multiple ones. But, I don't know. I think... we kind of live in a culture where nothing can really stay secret for long.
Right.
So, yeah. It's kind of terrifying and comforting in the same way, in that bad behavior, the truth will out, but by the same token, you know, it's easier to affect a mob mentality of certain things, you know, if you can sort of have people brought forward without trial necessarily.
Yeah, that was something we were talking about yesterday while filming. And you said Kevin Spacey will never see his day in court, as he probably should. Like well, wait, the statute of limitations is up
on the initial, some of the accusations. If the guy who was assaulted on the set of House of Cards, which basically amounted to, you know, Spacey putting his hand on his crotch and then like cornering him in a trailer. Now, if that guy wants to press charges, like, I think they're still good. But it's one of those things where, and I'm sure when you've been an open secret for this long, it's kind of hard to imagine that there aren't more people out there with worse stories who could come forward. But I think the important part about it is just, I don't know, like it, I just keep coming back to it of, like, can we admire anyone anymore? Like, because that dude was like one of my favorite actors. American Beauty is one of my favorite movies, and now it, you know, takes on this whole new level of creepiness. Yeah. And fucking hell, don't be shitty, people. It's not hard to not, you know, be a lecherous asshole to people. Or at least it shouldn't be hard, you know? But then by the same token, I'm kind of concerned about, you know, what things am I saying, you know, that I think are innocuous that I don't realize. And it goes back to the Dale documentary. I didn't think that I was being transphobic in that, because in my mind, basically, quick.
I thought it was a funny joke.
Yeah,
but you were just trying to pair two ideas for make a funny quip, and I'll say it. What her morality was as fluid as her gender.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
And but here's the thing: is the reason that it never occurred to me as something that would be portrayed as transphobic was because I didn't view Carmichael as a sort of transgendered person, in the sense that I didn't think that they truly identified as a different sex.
I don't think so either. I think the person, I think Carmichael was someone who was involved so much in themselves, and was on planet Carmichael, had no, probably easily a sociopath, had no compassion for everybody, was responsible of the death of one person, and cheated people out of millions of dollars, adjusted for inflation. What was it in like the 70s? It was something like 4 million or something like that.
Yeah, and
adjusted for inflation, that's something like $100 million.
Yeah, it's
so
absurd.
Fuck Carmichael. You've lost the ability to hide behind anything the second you become a federal criminal.
Yeah. And my thing about it was, this is a person who's not truly identifying with the other gender. It's someone who's co-opting that struggle to further evade law enforcement.
Exactly.
But somebody on Twitter who was a transgendered individual sort of explained where they were coming from. And all I could really do was just apologize deeply, because you don't realize in that moment how some of the things you say can hurt people without really intending it to, because you don't want it to come across as though you're minimizing the experience of what certain people are going through.
Right.
And I understand that, okay, maybe we live in a PC culture, but I think that's kind of the price we pay for sort of, I don't know, making people feel more welcome. You know, it's, I don't think that people should necessarily feel like they have to walk on eggshells, but by the same token, I don't think that we should just be throwing around words willy-nilly, because words are the biggest currency we have in this ridiculous world, you know, where it feels like nothing has value anymore. Mm-hmm. But words still have value if we give them value, you know? But, yeah, sorry, I'm stepping off the soapbox, but yeah.
We'll find a balance.
Yeah.
With this, we always will, and human beings are learning how to adjust their signs, the symbols that is spoken language. It's not easy to take these amorphous thoughts and put them into concrete code. Which is all language is. These phonemes that I'm making through the shape of my mouth and my vocal cords. Now, if you really want to get existential about it, that's all this is a bunch of go out in the woods and hike the Appalachian Trail, blah, blah, blah. Stop talking about the Appalachian Trail. But out there is where words disappear. Where language no longer, where at least spoken language no longer exists. Certainly there is a language going on out there, but it isn't one that we speak. It's the language of the sharpness of the rocks as they push through your shoes, as you feel them through the bottom of the shoes. It's the slickness on top of fallen logs that have been there for at least 20 years, that are slowly decaying. It's the mud-like substance of packed down leaves over many seasons. It's the smell of a faraway campfire. It's something that, I know this is a young adult novel, or at least presented as such in the school system, but Steinbeck's The Pearl. In the very beginning of that, Steinbeck was referring to things such as the song of I forget the main character's name, but he heard the song of family. He heard the song of community. And students think, are people singing about family? Are people singing about their neighbors? No. It's a way for Steinbeck to explain how someone with a limited vocabulary, which these very poor people of La Paz may have had, who wouldn't have written language, certainly they were illiterate, would be able to he is describing in our language feelings that people are experiencing who don't have the language to express themselves. So the unique feeling that you have on Christmas time, or that unique feeling that you described, I hate Black Friday and you love it, that line that you have saying nestled in the warm bosom of
commerce. Yeah. Because, well, as you were saying to your point of just the differences in feeling, because, you don't like it at all.
No. It's very I'm cynical about it because I worked in retail. People buying things made in China to erase the mistakes they made in their life. They're people going to Boscov's and buying rugs under which to sweep their problems. Yeah, that was right. Never end a sentence in a preposition.
Yeah, that's like Robert Stack's character in Beavis and Butthead. You're representing the United States government. Never end a sentence with a preposition.
Do you know in that camper in which off they were whacking? Yeah.
That's better. But I think, and my grandmother is kind of, well, not anymore, but she was like that. When I was growing up, she was kind of a hoarder, and she would go to Boscov's and spend most of the day there, and she would come back with like a bag full of things. She would used to work in a fabric outlet, or factory, and so most of her paycheck would kind of go towards buying this frivolous shit. And it's the recognition that in Puerto Rico, she grew up dirt poor and didn't have anything. And so it's kind of, there's comfort in commerce, in the idea that through the acquisition of things, I become more powerful, than you can possibly imagine. But also a kind of sign of status in a way, even though, you have a room packed full of all sorts of stuff that you're never going to do anything with. I mean, when she moved out and into the apartment, the senior citizens apartments, there was a ton of stuff we had to get rid of, and we just wouldn't tell her because knowing her, she would want to keep everything. But that can't necessarily be how it works. Most of it just goes to Goodwill or somewhere else. And I understand why that type of thing happens, but it's kind of anathema to me in that I don't understand why you would want to have a bunch of things that you're not doing anything with.
Yeah.
But I think it's how many people have cars that they never, like my uncle has a Camaro he got it brand new in, I want to say like 2009. And I think I've only ever seen him drive it once, and it was to his daughter's wedding.
Wow.
And
like a super low mile 09 Camaro.
Yeah. And it's just sitting under a cover, in his garage.
Outside. In the garage.
In the garage, okay, but under a cover. Yeah.
That's good.
I haven't seen this car. I know he still has it, but I have not seen this car in legit 8 years-ish around there. I mean, yeah. I only saw it when he got it.
Well, if it has cloth seats are going to do well. If it has leather seats, they may start cracking. It's like my dad and his Cressida. Of course, that thing lives outside.
Yeah,
it's not too bad looking. That car will follow him to the grave. It'll make it as he just drives it a little bit and has a rebuilt top end, and the transmission shifts fine. Only thing it needs is rear struts and a new driver's seat because the leather's all pulling apart. And, it's like 4-way adjustable things. It do fine with a set of Sparcos.
Every time I see the Cressida, it looks kind of showroom worthy.
It's not too bad. It's got one dent in it. It's got some pitting, but it's fine.
One of the first reviews. And that's just by virtue of proximity, you know?
Yeah.
Has your dad ever seen any of the videos?
Yeah, he watches them now.
Oh, that's...
He likes them. Dad's come around that I live off of YouTube. He wasn't that... You see how I'm pausing here?
Yeah.
He would have been prouder if I would have remained a teacher. But now I think he's fine with it.
Yeah.
In that he's fine with it because one day he spoke to me in The Voice. He tried to do it. So I'm like, okay, all right, if you're doing that, I think, yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it was really awkward for me. And now he knows it, so he's going to do it more because that's what dads do.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe seeing video or something of the car meet in that I was approved of by other people, therefore he could approve of me. But in the beginning, like, I told him, I never told my parents that I quit working at that logistics company. And, well, I've talked about this before, but I told them I was working for an auto blog. And the bit with Travis Olkulski wasn't lying. Like, yes, I was working for Road and Track. Yeah. Not telling them that was just a footnote to this YouTube thing. And later on, they kind of got the picture. But Dad said to me one time in the kitchen, he said, you know, I don't really like some of the things you say. And I can't remember what I said to that. I probably agreed with him. It's like, yeah, I can see that. But the thing is, I think at that point he knew that I was making a living off of it, because if it was maybe like 4 years earlier, that would have been followed up by, you know, if an employer sees that, which is why in the beginning, you know, there was no faces and anything.
Yeah, no faces, no names.
Yeah.
Nothing. And, you know, I think not everyone in my family really understands it. My mom and my brother and my sister, like, they get it. Although it took my mom a minute to sort of get around to it of, wait, you can actually make money doing this. And also, wait, I thought you were writing for this website. And also, wait, since when do you sing? Like that type of thing.
Oh, really?
Like, well, yeah, well, I mean, I did theater in high school, so it's not like I had never, you know, opened my mouth before. But, you know, it was kind of one of those things of like, wait, why do you play guitar now? I'm like, well, technically, if you ever hear me play, I kind of don't. But it's one of those things where, I don't know. I started playing guitar because I wanted to do a cover of, I was thinking like, I wish someone would do like an acoustic version of This Is How We Do It by Montel Jordan. And then I looked on YouTube thinking like, oh, this will be great if someone else has done it. And no one else had done it. And I was annoyed. And so I'm like, oh, well, let me learn this song myself and try to do it myself. And then this was around the time where like I started going, or where I came on to RCR. And, you know, you're like, well, you do music. Could you like do some stuff for the thing? And I'm like, oh, okay. And so it kind of like ballooned or snowballed out from there. But yeah, it wasn't anything that I really intended on doing at first.
That reminds me, there's a video coming up. It's another reverse one.
Oh, yeah.
That where Nick voices it, or Nick does the narrations, and I got to come up with a song. I'm going to use that drum set that I hardly ever use, because I had this whole idea of starting a band, which I still have a thing that I want to have. All we really need is like another guitar player or a bass player, and we have something. We got at least 3 people. Tim Strickler's always game.
Oh, Tim Strickler's a man for all seasons.
Yeah. And it's an electronic drum set, so it's easy. Electronic drum sets, here's the dumb thing about them. They travel easy once they're packed. But an acoustic drum set breaks down easier. It's just wing nuts. That thing has a mess of wires, and everything's fragile on it. So it's a pain in the ass to set up, but traveling is easy. A acoustic drum set travels difficult because you got cases, everything's big. Bass drum, Christ's sake, cymbals that you have to protect. That thing's just practice pads. And it can do lots of different effects and stuff like that. It's a Yamaha DTX Explorer, if anybody's wondering.
I mean, I did have an idea for a Christmas song that would require percussion.
Okay.
In that I would record it and sort of send it to you, and you could maybe think of, because basically the idea that I had for the Christmas song is the songs that I did for the fire truck review. And just sort of how you get a kid interested in cars is to just get them a fire truck for Christmas. Yeah. But and this is for people who kind of like, you know, missed out, but basically I do a Christmas song for the channel every year. Now, I don't know that there's going to be a video for it, but
yeah, because I'm going away for Christmas. Yeah. I'm going down to Jacksonville. I'll check my email to see who's around. I am going to film something while I'm down there. I'm not taking all my gear. I'm just taking my GoPro. Yeah. Because I'm not taking any checked bags. I'm not driving to Jacksonville. Screw that. I'm flying.
Screw that.
American does have a direct Philly to Jacksonville. No stops. And I mean, I'll just do some like point of view or the quickies. Yeah. Where I just think of jokes and then drive it for a little bit. Yeah. I'll do some stuff down there.
Or like guerrilla style, like the 2CV.
Yeah, just,
yeah. You know, do the walk around with the GoPro.
Yeah.
And then just throw it on the head or something.
Farrah does that. Of course, he has a little gimbal that steadies it.
Speaking of... Well, actually, this isn't speaking of Farrah, but because somehow I conflated the two in my mind. You made your national TV debut this past week on Fusion on Cars versus America.
Deep
cable.
Oh
God, we're talking like, and I mean, I'm sure it's great stuff, but I mean, I don't know what package you have to get this channel.
Fusion Network. And we were talking like, okay. Fusion is a new network created by Univision, but I don't know who it's. I think I read the blurb. It said like millennial focused youth brand something. Ugh. So what exactly does that mean? Anything? No. I guess you got some reality shows. Like some people yucking it up around a coffee table like this. Have a game show that's a modern version of Nick Arcade.
Oh God, I loved Nick Arcade with host Phil Moore. That was, well, I mean, wasn't that basically what your segment was? Of it was the four of you guys sitting around a table, and well, what is this show? It's Raph Orlov
and Michael Balaban.
Yeah, and it's basically a show. Well, I mean, it's a show about cars.
Okay, think Top Gear, oh wait, it's a road trip show. That's it. They get a car, they drive to a place, and then they meet the locals. That's it.
And so they were in Pennsylvania and asking you about what's so great about Pennsylvania.
Yeah. They were doing 4x4 stuff off in Roush Creek. And the day went really long, and I got up really early because I thought they needed me there early, and I said, "Can I just show up at 10 or something like that?" Yeah, and then they said they weren't done yet. And then in the evening, they finally showed up at that ice cream place in Pine Grove, and we were drinking Pennsylvania Dutch Birch beer that kind of looked like Miller Lite.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have beer there. I didn't see the whole episode because they're not streaming it, and I think my parents have Comcast and they don't have the package that has Fusion. What I saw in that trailer, classic hip hop. Oh, Beastie Boys. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that trailer, that conversation was more cut up than Mixmaster Mike working the ones and twos. I should have just said Grandmaster Flash or something like that. That's going back to
Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the preview in the article.
Terminator X. For the DJ for Public Enemy. Terminator X.
Nice. I mean, I
sampled. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh no, go ahead, go.
People say I do that, and I do that. Like when they hear me talk, they said, "Mr. Regular sounds like he's just waiting for his turn to speak," and sometimes I am.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I know.
My bigger problem is I'll interrupt with something that doesn't have it. I'm like freaking Red Band on Rogan saying like, but seriously, Brian. Do you think this is actually good radio? Like, does anyone actually want to hear this story? Like, when he interrupted to tell this stupid-ass story about Olive Garden, this was years ago.
Okay.
But, and Rogan was just like, yeah, but why would you interrupt to tell that story? Like, what's the point of that story? Like, we're in the middle of a relatively decent conversation, and you interrupt to tell this story about the Olive Garden, how the Olive Garden is great. And it's just a very weird... I mean, it's kind of weird... I don't know. I'm kind of glad he's not on the show anymore, if only because him being a puncher... Like, okay, Brian Redband isn't great, but him being like the punching bag for that show was getting kind of uncomfortable after a while. So, but no.
He's good when he's a guest.
Yeah.
Good when he's a guest.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, you know, you can't be on all the time. Otherwise it gets to be kind of...
Yeah. I think podcasts that are always three ways, where you have three hosts, just like that old joke about three ways, somebody gets left out. There's always something.
Yeah.
It didn't work that way with the Smoking Tire. That was almost always Farrah, Hayes, and Clapman.
Yeah.
Now it's Farrah and Clapman and whoever the guest is. And I think their intern would come in. The thing about the Smoking Tire is I know every single guest. Like, every time this stuff goes on, it's usually journalists, it's usually Jalopnik or people in the automotive industry. I know who they are and I know their voice. So I can keep up if there's maybe 4 people on mic or 5 people on mic. I know what they're talking about. I know who's who. But I can understand how a heavy show like that maybe be hard to take if you're not already invested in the content or invested in that world.
Yeah. Well,
Terminator X. Savior. He sampled Queen, Flash Gordon, in one of his tracks.
Savior of the universe.
Yeah.
Oh God, such a good. That's one of the most underrated Queen songs. That and "Who Wants to Live Forever" from Highlander.
Oh yeah.
There can be only one. But I think with the whole Fusion TV thing, I think it's nice in the sense of, like, I knew that you would film the thing and that it was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to happen this soon.
Me neither. And I didn't know I was going to be, like, interviewed. I thought I would be a outlier character, maybe a consultant. Like, hey, what's around in PA, and maybe that. But I get there, and the one mic guy's like, okay, let's get you mic'd up. Now, I'm very ticklish. So I kept taking the mic clip away from him and say, look, I will just go up under my shirt, do it myself. And this guy was just in full production mode. And I can understand from his point, he needs the mic in a certain place. So they get, it's this is a Hunter S. Thompson line. But he goes under my shirt with no quarter asked and none given, you know. Just and of course, and I jerk and I tense up, and he gets weird. I'm like, look, I know where to clip this. This is the power pack, and this is a transmitter. Clip it back here. I'm fine. So
yeah, done this before.
Done this. Ain't my first rodeo.
Yeah, between Gears and Gasoline, and when we first started doing Ask RCR, and there was the lavalier mics, and we were trying to get that going.
Yeah,
but I think. I'm kind of in the same boat with, there's this documentary that I was asked to be a part of about the Dale. And because I did that RCR Stories episode on the Dale, they said, well, could you talk with us about the Dale and everything? And so they're going to be in my town on Saturday to interview me about it. And I didn't realize it was going to be like an on-camera thing, that I'm basically a talking head in this documentary, which I don't mind. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really consider myself an authority. It's just that I did all that research so recently that it's still sort of fresh in my head. Even though I couldn't even remember that the person who perpetrated the crime, the first name was Liz. So I just called her Carmichael. But I think it's one of those things where, if you're asked to participate in something, I'm one of those people who's kind of like an easy yes. It's like, okay, sure, why not? Except the Marauder, Dominic, the guy whose Marauder we did, he has a show in PA in December, and he asked if I wanted to open for him, and I passed because I'm very, very self-conscious about my guitar playing, and also, my originals are all, car songs, like, off of the album, it's all about cars and sort of comedy stuff, and I don't think the crowds would mesh. Because normally when I'll do an open mic, I don't know what I'm going to do before I go up there. And I go up there and see what kind of crowd I have. And then I decide, but I mean, at an open mic, most of the things I do are covers anyway. But if I were opening for someone, I wouldn't be doing covers. I would probably be doing originals. And I don't feel like I have the depth of catalog to sort of justify it. And even more than that, I don't feel like my guitar playing is up to some, like, my guitar playing is fine for sort of a drunk guy at a frat party wanting to like whip it out and play Wonderwall. It's like, oh God, who gave Josh a guitar? Oh, he's out here. You're going to play Don't Look Back in Anger? Like, oh,
we're having a bush party like Night in the Woods, and the one guy with the guitar. Time to play socially aware rock.
Yeah, and just sort of making eyes at, her name is Heather. That's all we know. Yeah. Whoever she is, her name is Heather. Or Julie. But yeah, I don't know. But I was flattered, and, it's great and all this other stuff. And I don't know, one day I'll get to that point. It's just like, for now, I don't really have time to dedicate to the craft of like properly sort of learning it. Also, I kind of feel like my skills have plateaued to a certain degree of that I have these ingrained habits that I would have to unlearn, in a Yoda type of unlearn what you have learned kind of way.
Yeah.
So that takes time, and I'm working on RCR Stories stuff. So, but speaking of RCR, I'm gonna do Ask RCR. Now, this is something that I keep forgetting to mention of all the podcasts we keep doing, but if you want to submit a question for Ask RCR, you go to our subreddit, r/regular car reviews. And there will be a thread there for, I believe the thread isn't actually titled Ask RCR, that it's questions for Ask Mr. Regular, back when this segment was still called Ask Mr. Regular. Yeah, it says new submissions for Ask Mr. Regular. And so I have to update it with a new thread at some point. But you go there, submit a question, and hopefully we'll read it on the air at the end of, our podcast each week. So anyway, here we go. When you look at reviewing cars, do you prefer them to be near stock, or would you consider something regardless of the amount of mods on it?
We might be doing a car that's super heavily modified. I still have to talk to the guy. I don't think you're going to be around for it because that is... Well, we'll go over there to my desk and look at the calendar. That really doesn't matter. Whether it's stock or modified, I'm more interested in the owner, the condition of the car, will it make it here or near enough, and the maturity of the owner. Yeah. Is it your car? Or is it really in your parents' name? Is it in your parents' name? Well, then I got to talk to your parents. Yeah. It's not your property, is it? So, now, say if I did a Viper or a Halo car, a Mark IV Supra. Yeah. Then I want it stock. If it's something cool, I do lean more towards stock cars. Really, I do. Like the K car that we may never get. That I never say never, but the Dodge Aries, Plymouth Reliant. Excuse me. Or, you know, an Acura Legend from like 99 or something. Yeah, I want it stock. The reverse review that's coming out, that you need to record after this.
Yeah, that's true.
So that not only was stock, but taken super back to stock because I was restored. So, and when it comes to cars like that, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it's been rebuilt or not. I mean, in that condition, you almost expect it. If that thing was, you know, original unrestored, I don't know if that car would have even come out. It'd been worth too much money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that.
What is a car/driving law that shouldn't exist and one that should? This could be PA specific, if you want.
50 mile per hour school zone. That's a moneymaker right there. Should be 25. 15 miles an hour for 8 blocks. 15 miles an hour. Really? I get it. It's only for like 15 minutes. But really? You want to piss people off, go through a school zone at the recommended speed. There's one out there in Friedensburg. It's on PA Route 443. You know, that's a 45 mile an hour speed limit, dropping to 15 as it approaches Blue Mountain Elementary West. Be that guy who drives at 15 miles an hour past a school. No one's crossing there. There is no crosswalks in front of that school. 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
We had, when I was in high school, we had this new assistant principal who turns out was cool. He rode a Honda Valkyrie. I was friends with him when I was a substitute teacher years later. But when he got into the school as a new assistant principal, he got it in his head to enforce the 15 mile an hour speed limit within the school grounds. Now, Blue Mountain High School has a long, long driveway. We called it the Y. I mean, it's almost a quarter mile. It's way back away from the road. It's this big loop that goes in. I mean, it's not a quarter mile from the road to the school, but if you count it, the loop around to get back. So he had a radar gun and was sitting out there on the drive walk trying to give students detention for going faster than 15 miles an hour. And eventually the school board told him knock it off, because then the bus driver started protest. Because what the bus driver said, okay, you want to go 15 miles an hour? They would go 15 miles an hour. They put their four-ways on and creep up that hill. And eventually that was interfering with the morning bells. Because that was unified, that all the buses did it. And for our area, it was a big school. So you had this backup line of buses just... Dun, 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 dun. I don't know why I'm doing Dragnet. Dun, 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 dun. They're like the buses coming in the Shawshank. That. And eventually, like, we were all laughing about it, and then they said, just knock it off. So absurdly low speed limits for the sole purpose of revenue generation. That's one that shouldn't exist. But I recognize that, you know, every now and then you'll pop a guy with bad tags who has a warrant for, has a warrant out for arrest, and that's normally the way people go to the metal clink. Yeah. They get pulled over for tail light out or speeding or so forth, and then they run the plate and everything, and license and stuff. So then there was a second part to that question. What's one that should exist?
Yeah, should.
There's some things that I think I would have to find something that you could implement without needing a whole new department of bureaucracy to effect. I think graduated licenses are a good idea for cars. And even motorcycles, really. I mean, the idea that you can get a permit and go out and buy a Busa or an R1, that's nuts. With an 18-year-old brain piloting something like that. Or even put an 18-year-old brain in a Mustang GT SN95. That's still 225 and no driver age. That's why they crash. They're not used to that rear-wheel drives thing and nothing helping you. You know, make fun of the modular Ford V8, but it's still going to the rear wheels and there's nothing helping you. But I disagree with anything that bloats government. So it'd be neat to be able to police driver distraction with, you know, people looking down at their phones. We all see it. You see it in your rearview mirror. Someone comes to the light. You look in your rearview mirror and already their eyes are down.
Yeah.
But maybe this is cynical. But I think nature is looking for a way to thin the herds. So here you go. Drive 70 miles an hour and look at this. Yeah. Look down. Well, you do that. That's capital M, Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Doing her thing. So I don't know what law should exist. Because you can't litigate stupidity. Do you want GPS trackers? Well, you can buy them now. Decibel limits on stereos. Limits on window tint. We already really have that. Of course, I'm against anything that takes away individual freedom in a very libertarian sense. I feel you should modify it. The car is your property. You should be able to do whatever you want to it. Yeah. You own that thing. That's yours. With the exception of leases and so forth. What laws really should exist? It would be neat if they started enforcing left lane bandits more. Like, look, you're not passing anybody. You're riding the left lane. But that's a law that kind of exists in Pennsylvania anyway. But it'd be neat if they enforced it. Or at least gave you a warning. Like, not even ticket you. But, of course, they want their $109 obeying traffic devices ticket. That'd be neat. Put a corridor in on 222. Say, no cruising in the left lane unless you're passing somebody. But then when traffic gets backed up, you need both lanes. So I don't really have an answer for what law they should exist.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if you think of something, it's a question we can come back to. But either way, that'll just about do it for us. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Hope you guys have a great week. I'm Nick, or the Roman.
I'm Brian, Mr. Regular.
And I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening.
Stretching.